I, Jeffrey Boyd,
I, Jeffrey Boyd,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Justice of the Supreme Court
of the Office of Justice of the Supreme Court
of the State of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Please be seated. It's all like 40 minutes long, so you'll be all right. What an incredible honor to be presented to the court today by the Honorable Thomas M. Reevely. Judge Reevely was the first judge I ever really knew. And he set an early standard in my mind of the kind of person that a judge is supposed to be. There's a reason why his colleagues on the Fifth Circuit have for a long time called him the Pope of the Fifth Circuit. Only a handful of judges that I have known since then have ever even approached the standard that he set. I doubt that I ever will, but it will be my goal to do so. Judge, thank you for giving a young Pepperdine student a chance 20 years ago and for being such a great friend ever since. One of that small handful who have approached that standard, who I've known since my time with Judge Reevely, is Justice General Senator John Cornyn. I consider Senator Cornyn to be one of our country's true lawyer statesmen, literally in a category with John Adams and Calvin Coolidge, and even in some ways Abraham Lincoln from my time with him. Senator, I'm glad that your boss, whoever it is, let you off work today. Harry Reid wasn't originally planning to do that, but more than that, I'm glad you chose to spend one of your very few days off to be here with the court. Thank you for giving a young Thompson a Knight lawyer a chance 12 years ago, and for your friendship since then. I could say about so many of you that I would not be here standing in front of you today if it weren't for you. But I literally would not be here today standing if it weren't for our Governor, Rick Perry. I first met Governor Perry right after he took office in 2000, and I worked for then General Cornyn at the Attorney General's office. And although we crossed paths on numerous occasions after that, all I ever really knew about him, other than just having shaken his hand and chatted, was what I read and heard from the media. Somehow, in spite of that, I still respected him so much, at least enough to say yes when he asked me to serve as his general counsel 2 years ago. Serving as Governor Perry's general counsel and then as his chief of staff truly has been the opportunity of a lifetime for me. Not just because those are such challenging and exciting jobs, and believe me, they are, but because they gave me the opportunity to get to know the person Rick Perry and his wife Anita. Both of them, I'm telling you, are people of genuine and amazing faith, a very simple, trusting West Texas hospitality, and an absolute love for people and for the state of Texas. And on top of that, Governor Perry is one of those unique mix of people. He's that guy whose knowledge and even vision will repeatedly astound you. And at the same time, you just love hanging out with him. I found that those who truly know Rick Perry cannot help but like him. and I'm proud to have joined that crowd. Governor, thank you for giving a non-political guy a chance 2 years ago. Thank you for entrusting me with this new assignment now. And thank you and Mrs. P. for your friendship. Of course, there are too many to thank. There are too many to thank today, though I owe each of you my thanks as much as these three. My friends at Thompson and Knight, my friends at the Brentwood Oaks Church, my friends at the Attorney General's office, at the Governor's office, and in so many other places. I'm truly grateful for all of you. But I must at least mention my family. My dad, retired Major Lawrence C. Boyd, is with us today, and his wife, Betty Ann. My brothers, one of whom could not be here, he's in Colorado. My brothers and my sister and their families, my wife's parents, Hugh and Jamie Tubbs. My wife's one of 6 kids, so all of those brothers and sisters and their families, I appreciate all of you very much. My own family, my children, Hannah and Abby and Carter. Now, Carter couldn't be here, so I actually have 2 members of my family who are missing today. One is Carter. He's a freshman at Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia, and that's a long way to come back after having just driven there last weekend. The other, I need to tell you, member of my family who's missing today is Robert Frost. Robert is Carter's cat, and he sleeps with me every night. So yes, I did ask that if we allow certain judges ask rhetorical questions from the bench, and I asked if we allow certain damages for the loss of a dog, where do we draw the line? What about cats and fish and birds? And yes, Blake let me know that he spent about 30 minutes on the phone with a woman from Fort Worth who wondered if I hated cats. I call him Robbie, and I love him. So I'm okay with fish, but I kind of hate birds. So just so now someone's going to quote that too. Hannah, Abby, and Carter are my pride and joy. And didn't Abby do well today? Thank you. And if I spend too much time on this, I won't get through it. So let me thank my wife, who's been loyal to me and a steadfast partner for almost 27 years now, next month. Thank you, Jackie. Now, Jackie's not a lawyer, but to give you an example of the kind of support that she's always been, she just recently gave me a reproduction copy of a book that was published around 1920. Written by a man named J.H. Davenport, and its title is The History of the Supreme Court of the State of Texas with Biographies of the Chief and Associate Justices. Now, beginning in 1834 with Thomas Jefferson Chambers, who was the first superior judge of the Superior Judicial Court of the Province of Texas of the Mexican Confederation, this book provides a brief biography of almost all of the justices who served on this court during its first 90 years. Now, I have to admit, I am the kind of guy who can actually find that to be interesting reading. But what I found most interesting is this. With the exception of Chief Justice John Hemphill and Justice Leroy Denman and maybe a couple of others, I've never heard of any of them. And I suspect that if we updated that history book to cover these past 90 years, most of us would still find the names unfamiliar, with perhaps a few exceptions. In fact, I suspect most of you had not heard of Judge Reevely before today, much less knew that he'd served as a justice on this court for nearly 10 years. Many of you didn't know that Senator Cornyn served on this court for 6 years. And you also don't know the name Dale Wainwright, even though he was my immediate predecessor in the seat that I'm now taking. In fact, admit it, some of you couldn't name more than 1 or 2 of the people who are up here with me right now. Now, I could turn this into a speech about how we as citizens should know more about our court and its justices, especially since we're the ones who elect them at the polls. But to me today, that's not the most important message. The message that hits home with me is this: the Supreme Court is not about the justices. Today's not about me. It's not about Justice Divine. It's not about any one of us. It's about this historic and essential institution. It's about the rule of law in our society and the role that this court plays in upholding the rule of law. Now, certainly, as Justice Wainwright said, we need to have the right people serving on this court for the right reasons. But even when all of us are the right people serving for the right reasons, it's never about any of us. One day, not one of the 9 of us will still be here. And even if our names and biographies are laid out in history books, the time will come when most people who read those books will say, "I never heard of any of them." But God willing, this court will still be here, justly, fairly, intelligently applying our laws to promote without any bias or prejudice, without any agenda or specific purpose, the civil and peaceful resolution of the disputes that would otherwise undermine who we are and how we live as Americans and as citizens of this state. So although this may be called an investiture, it feels more to me like what we Church Christers call an invitation. And I've come to the front to confess my inadequacies for the task that I've been called to, and to commit wholeheartedly anyway to serving something far greater than myself, and to solicit your constant prayers and your support along the way. As Blake said, so as Blake says, God save the state of Texas and this honorable court. Thank you.